Welcome to the future. This is Ina Braxton from the Digital Future Lab, and you're listening to our weekly DFL podcast, where we cover the state of the gaming industry, technology, and diversity. Here are your hosts, Samantha Riley and Jesus Govella.
Hi, and welcome to the DFL podcast. I'm Jesus.
And I'm Samantha.
And today we'll be talking about careers in the tech industry.
So basically talking about how we personally feel about careers in the tech industry, and then just generally the most popular careers we hear about, or just careers we hear our peers at college are also talking about. So let's get into it.
All right.
So just starting off with an introduction about the Digital Future Lab. Obviously, they're a very tech-based company. We're working on making games. There's a lot of technology involved. Even in our roles as a community manager, everything we do is with technology, creating content, posting content. Mm-hmm. So I guess what is your take on that? Like the experience of working with technology as an intern?
Here at the DFL, I guess the technology we use is the various audio recording software for this, and the live streaming software as well. We work with that a bit, and other collaborative technologies such as Google Docs and Discord and all that. We use that a lot around here just to communicate, work together on stuff, even though we're not together physically. So, and it really helps us a lot.
Yeah, and even like when we post on our platforms like YouTube and Instagram, like that's all technology. Mm-hmm. Like 50 years ago, people never did any of that.
Right.
And then even like how we edit, like a lot of our graphics, at least for like thumbnails, I'll use like Canva, and that's like an online program that you can use for free to make thumbnails. When we have fun events, like, and we need to make a cool graphic, like our diplomas for all of the... We made diplomas for all of the graduating seniors at our fun day last quarter. And like, that is technology. I mean, even though that's something so simple, like all of our marketing supplies, everything we do is via technology.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And even for this podcast, I use Lightworks. That's a free editing software to edit it all together, the audio and the visuals and all that.
Okay. I bought a software a few years ago just for my own use called Movavi, but I know the school computers, there's MacBooks that we have access to that have Final Cut Pro, and so obviously we need that to make our podcast. So even this recording that you guys are listening to right now, it's not just recorded, it's edited, it's played back and then posted. So there's a lot of process that goes into the technology side of things. So I think most careers, like as an intern or not on campus, is pretty technology heavy, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Especially since we work a lot with digital media. We're making a game here at the DFL, so everyone is using technology here.
Yeah, and I can't go too much in depth about other roles in the lab because I'm not doing what they're doing, so I don't know exactly what their process is, but like the 3D artists, they always have their software up of when they're tweaking like different, different files. I don't know what to call it because I don't do that.
Right. We the others around here use the game engine Unity.
Okay.
And the artists, I believe, use Adobe Premiere, and the programmers use Visual Studio. So that's a common one for programmers, and that'll really help them in their future careers because a lot of companies will use Visual Studio to code.
And I noticed like there's a lot of crossover between softwares. Mm-hmm. Like for Final Cut Pro, I think that it's either Adobe Premiere or Final Cut Pro. Those are the two preferred methods for editing. So since we're learning that here, if we take this to our future careers, they're probably going to want those same softwares, but we're already getting that experience here, so we already know how to use it. So it's really cool that we have access to all these different softwares, but we can also transfer it to our future jobs as well. So I guess the question leads up to, do we want a career in tech in the future, like post grad, after we are done at the Digital Future Lab?
Well, for me, I've always been interested in tech, computers, and all that. I used to be a computer science major before I switched to applied computing, which is kind of the same thing, just a little more mixed in with the minor, which is business. But I still hold a big interest in technology, so I think I would like a job in tech.
I agree. And I think just how our generations have evolved, like, even if I say right now I don't want a career in tech, I don't really think there's a choice. I feel like every career that I will end up in, unless obviously if I'm doing manual labor, then probably not as much. But if there is any job that I'm doing that I'm applying my marketing major towards, I'm a business marketing major. Like, no matter what I'm doing, it's going to have tech involved. So I would say, yeah, I definitely do see myself working in tech in the future, whether that's like a full-on tech job where like it's stated in my title or not, or if it's just something that is within my job description, but it's not something that I'm doing the whole time. I definitely think it'll be a big part of my role.
Yeah, I'd like a role that's sort of not so much into the programming side, because I did that for a while in the classes I took for computer science, and I found that I didn't like that too much. But I did like more of the business side, sort of the, making the diagrams and making sure the data flows between the teams well. Yeah, and just managing that. I'm more in line with that. So managing technology, I think, would be a good role for me.
So I'm just going to say a couple examples. This is going to be from US News. So credit to them for all of this information. But just the most popular jobs, and I feel like one of these is really similar to what you're talking about. So the first one is a software developer, and that is the number one best technology job. I also think I would say that it is the most popular technology job, at least for our campus. Number 2 is computer system analyst. And number 3 is IT manager. And these are all making over 6 figures. Yeah, so I see why people want these jobs.
Yeah.
Would you say what you kind of explained similar to like an IT manager?
Yeah, that would be a role I'd look at. Definitely.
Okay, I would probably kind of lean towards that direction too. I don't really see myself as a software developer or computer system analyst. Like, I don't think I could sit in front of a computer screen for 8 hours and do all of the in-depth work with that. I think I would be more of like the overlooker, like the person managing all of that, just like Jesus said. So maybe an IT manager, or I don't know what's another good example. Like,
I guess a project manager for a technology company.
Right, or even our role, like as a community manager for a bigger company like Microsoft or something. Right. I'm sure there would be a lot of technology involved.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be in the title itself.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about why we'd want to work in a technology field. And for me, I'm not graduated yet. I graduate spring of 2020, so that's next year. So even though like it's only a year away and I don't know what my career is going to be, I have just like a general idea. Like, since technology is constantly changing, like I might have a clear idea of what I want to do now, but a year from now, there might be a bunch of new technology on the market that doesn't exist now. And I even hear people say, like, business leaders will say, if you don't know what job you want, maybe it hasn't been invented yet. Like, maybe your job is not even created yet. Like, when you think about before computers existed, like being like a web developer and like software developer, those jobs never existed like 50 years ago.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's interesting to think about, like, a year from now, maybe my career or your career doesn't exist yet.
Yeah, maybe that could very well be. A good example of that recently would be VR technology is starting to grow a lot faster than it was before. And there's definitely a lot of students here who've taken a liking to programming VR applications, and that's always interesting to see that happen here at the university.
I don't know. I would love to just bring more technology to like already existing jobs, like Casey said earlier about being like on the management side of things in technology. I would love to be a program manager and deal with just scheduling and bringing on new employees and just dealing with the whole organizational side of a company. But with that, I'd want to make it very organized. Some companies still use a lot of old-fashioned ways to communicate. Like, for example, I work for this like gym down my street, and we're still like communicating back and forth with like email and stuff, and the emails get lost and no one knows what's going on. I mean, I feel like I'm being so offensive to them, but sometimes I just want to tell them, like, you guys are making this so overcomplicated. Like, we don't have to be filing through a million emails. Like, it just be so much easier. Or when they're giving us our paycheck and there's like all these papers they want us to fill out, and I just feel like there's so much updated technology where we can simplify this and have like one file on a document. Or I mean, even how we use Discord for all our communications, so easy, so convenient, everybody's on there. Whereas you don't have to like find them all on Facebook or anything. Like, we're all just on the same channel and it's super convenient. So I think a lot of companies have switched over to this more modern form of technology, but there's still a lot of companies out there who are still using this kind of old way of sending newsletters and emails, and people don't read those. So that's just like, that's just not how it is. Like, I want to step in and be like, hey guys, this is what we do, and just change our, bring in the new technology.
Yeah, definitely. There's even big companies like Microsoft. I used to work as a QA for them, and some of the things I did were very, clean cut, still pretty old school. We'd still use an old email system, at least the QA team did, to just send information and ask everyone what tasks still needed to be done and stuff like that. But yeah, I would, if I was in that position to change those processes, I would definitely change that to something more streamlined.
I think a big part of it is just people. I mean, people are creatures of habit. Everyone wants to stay in their comfort zone, and it's like, if this way works, why would we change it?
Yeah.
But that's the thing. It's like with technology, you always have to question your existing process, because that is what technology is. It's making it more efficient. It's making everything simpler. But I think a lot of people who are used to old-fashioned way see technology as, oh, it's so confusing. That's too much, and like they don't want to deal with it. But that it's really helpful once you do.
Right. Yeah, the emails may have worked well back when they were new, and you didn't have a million every day.
Yeah.
But as times change, you get, if you only have one email, then you have a lot of messages coming in through there. And even if you split it among multiple emails, that's still have to check each one separately. So,
I mean, even I have my school email and my regular email. You probably have the same thing.
Yeah.
And my regular email gets filled with so much spam. I don't even know where they come from, but all these companies want me to buy their product, and I don't look at any single one. I archive it and I get rid of it, and then I don't look at it.
Yeah, me too.
So we'll start talking about how we would go about finding a career in technology, and if we've already started or not. Like, have we started the search process?
Yeah, for me, I am graduating this quarter. This is my final quarter. I'm just finishing up my last classes. But I've definitely started looking at jobs on LinkedIn and other job posting boards on project management, community management, just basic or general management positions around here, Seattle. And there seems to be a lot of diversity among the companies that are looking for management positions. There's a bunch of small startups, but there's also a lot of the big companies like Amazon, Microsoft also looking right now. So it's looking pretty good. I think I'll find a job soon.
Nice. And for me, I don't think my search process is as in depth as Jesus's because I still have a year, so I'm not really too focused on it. I do have my LinkedIn all set up, and I get occasional like messages or pop-ups that say like marketing specialist or something along those lines of marketing, and I see them, and I've been looking through just kind of curious about what is hiring in the area because obviously a year from now I'll be in the same position that Jesus is in. But I think it's all just about networking. Like that really is how you get the right job. It's knowing the right people. And I'm a big believer in just being in the right place at the right time and finding that, not like the job's not going to like land in your lap, but just knowing the right people, you'll end up, meeting that right person that ends up helping you find that right job. And I don't know, everything will fall into place, I'm sure, in the next year when I get more serious with the search process.
Yeah. For me, at least, it didn't really dawn on me that I'd need to find a job pretty quick until like last quarter. So yeah, you'll definitely be motivated, I think, in those final quarters, to find a job.
Right, and I see a lot of people that are who graduated last quarter, and they're moving on to their future careers, and I hear them talking about it and posting about it, and I think that motivates me, especially because we kind of also came from the same place, like being interns at the Digital Future Lab, and we're all moving on to different careers, so it's just cool to see, some people do stay in the tech world, some people go to, like, sales, like, there's, there's a million different options.
Yeah, and it's also really nice that we're all pretty close-knit here at the Digital Future Lab, so we're always helping each other out.
Right, yeah, and I think it's really cool that we even have this to write on our resume. That's really cool that we're able to say we interned at the Digital Future Lab. Like, it's definitely, for me, it's probably one of the most, like, honorable things to me that I did while being here at UW Bothell.
No, definitely, yeah. Out of my 3, I guess, jobs, this would be the one I'd put at the top,
Right.
Like, I did the most here, I think. Even though we're not paid at all. We're just doing this for the experience.
Right. Yeah, so it's really cool that we get to write this on our resume. And I think part of the fact that this is an internship, it just shows that we're that much more dedicated to it. Because I've had several jobs, like, in the past. Like, I worked in the service industry. I've done, like, labor jobs. Like, I've done things that aren't necessarily what I want to do. And even though those, I made good tips at a restaurant, and I've done a lot of things that were sustainable for me to make enough money to support myself. But then at this point, this job is the most relevant experience I've had to what I want to do in the future.
Yeah, definitely. My past 2 jobs have, well, the QA one is, I guess, the most related of the other ones I've done, but the other one, I was just like a kitchen assistant at a hotel, so that didn't really do much for me.
Yeah, I was a server, and I had to talk to rude customers all day. Yeah, so this is really cool that, like, we literally get to work in a team, and, like, we're constantly trying to figure out, like, new ways to learn. Like, I mean, we learned how to set up a podcast and do, like, this whole audio setup. We didn't know how to do that before.
Yeah, I didn't know how to edit at all before. I've done it once in high school, but that was for, like, a small video project. But now I get to do this again, editing, not just audio but video as well, and that I think would be very helpful in the if I were to be like a community manager again in another company.
Yeah, I agree. And even we learned how to do Photoshop that one time.
Oh, yeah.
With Nathan, who works here at the Digital Future Lab. And, like, that was really cool because I've never taken a class where I've learned how to do Photoshop. So just being at the lab, there's so much information to offer. Everyone has different strengths. And just by talking to them and having them, like, show you what they do, you're like, wow, like, this, I feel like I gain so much knowledge just by having, like, one conversation with the person. So that's, I've never been able to gain that same experience that I've had with previous jobs. And that's not to say like my previous jobs weren't valuable work experience, because they definitely were. Like it definitely taught me to have like a strong work ethic, and it taught me like time management and how to, customer service. There's so many valuable skills that I learned that I think will eventually apply to my future career. But I think this internship gave me all the technology skills that I needed, all the skills that, you can pay hundreds of dollars to take a class outside, but just by being an intern here, I got to learn it just by talking with my peers and observing what they do. So it's really like a bang for your buck, like they say about UW Bothell. So definitely such a valuable experience that we're getting credit for. We didn't have to pay hundreds of dollars for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And same with me. The past 2 jobs I had have also taught me things, but I could definitely see especially in the QA job, I could see issues that were related to management, and I was taking business classes during that time, and it was interesting seeing some things I learned in the classes being shown at work, and it got me thinking, just what would I do, if I was the manager here, to help fix these problems that I'm seeing down at the lower level.
Well, thank you for that insight, because I completely agree. Like, all the work experience we have is just eventually going to lead up to what we want to do in the future, but I think it's really gave us a good perspective on, what kind of career we want, how technology can really apply to these careers. But that is going to be it for this episode, Careers in Technology. Hopefully you guys enjoyed listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed this episode. And you can catch us on Instagram at Digital Future Lab, and on Twitter at DFL_studios. And our Facebook is at Digital Future Lab. And we also have a YouTube, and that's it.
Yeah, and that's what you're listening to right now, is on YouTube.
Yeah.
So definitely comment below if you guys have ideas of your future career in technology. We'd love to hear, and we'll talk to you guys next time.
All right. See
Bye.
you guys later. Bye.
Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed our discussion. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Digital Future Lab, and on Twitter at DFL_studios. Tune in next time for more on games, technology, and diversity.